Just to be clear here, though, do you specifically condemn Hamas, a designated terrorist organization?
He condemns the violence of all factors. Yeah, but do you condemn Hamas?
Disrupt America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. So Mahmoud Kahili, you remember Mahmoud Kahili? That was the Columbia college student that is a legal resident because he came to America on a student visa, but eventually married an American. They had their first son, I do believe, just recently. Is back in the spotlight again because after they tried to deport him, after they tried to speculate that, oh, this guy that engaged in pro-Palestine activism is a terrorist sympathizer, and that's why we got to deport him, because America, the free, land of the free, home of the brave, we can't allow for people to express their thoughts. And now it is now certain that that is the case once again, because now they want to attack him once more for a recent interview he did on CNN. So this is from the New York Post, very kind of pro Israeli establishment, very pro Zionist organization. As you can see here, this anti-Israel protester Mahmoud Kahili repeatedly refused to condemn Hamas in tense CNN interview. Disingenuous to ask. First of all, when we covered Mahmoud Kahili and we did some breakdown, because let's face it, a lot of it was just overhyped speculation. They didn't really go down in deep detail of evidence to prove the claim that he is a terrorist sympathizer, as they claim. But there was significant evidence to prove that Mahmoud Kahili wasn't even mentioning about Israel per se, but mentioning that Columbia University should be divesting from this foreign nation. And that was apparently the conundrum that started this whole thing, is a student who is paying tuition to Columbia University, an Ivy League school that has all this hype of being this, monumental, oasis of higher education. A student bothered to look into the investment of where this college, where these Ivy League schools are putting their money towards, and they're putting their money towards foreign nations killing each other. Does that sound good to you? Does that sound good that your higher education, all the money you pay to an Ivy League school that you claim is going to educate you, is going to be sent over to slaughter people? No. That would probably be conflicting. You'd probably be angry about that. And this guy did. And they wanted to deport him. So the article goes on to say, anti-Israel protester Mahmoud Kahili repeatedly refused to denounce Hamas during a tense CNN interview, insisting it was disingenuous for the anchors to demand this position on the terror group. The outspoken Palestinian activist, who was detained for over 3 months by the Trump administration for his predominant role in the often violent Columbia University protests. Well, if they're violent, this is the argument I've made. If they're violent, where are the police records? Where's the police records to prove that there was violence at these protests? There's no evidence to back that claim. There's no evidence. But you have some rando on Twitter, on TikTok, or they get someone to go on Fox News and do crocodile tears, claiming that they were assaulted, that there was harassment, that, oh my God, they were saying anti-Semitic words, but they don't tell you. They don't tell you. They don't provide evidence, which shows that it's manufactured propaganda, it's manufactured fear-mongering to pander to that side, to pander to the pro-Israel side. And we know this happens frequently. We know this happens frequently all around the world, that they've continuously done this. But they don't have evidence to back those claims. But there is evidence to discuss the fact that they're propagandizing, fear-mongering, and putting this onto people to go against people that are speaking out for the safety, for the liberation, for the freedom of lives in Palestine and elsewhere around the world. Dismissed co-anchor Pamela Brown's repeated grilling over his views of Hamas as both absurd and hypocritical. Do you specifically condemn Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, blah, blah, blah? So It goes on in deep discussion about the back and forth here, but I'm going to show it to you. Straight from Homeland Security, which I always find so hilarious. I find it so unbelievably hilarious. In all the time that they've discussed about how we're cracking down on social media and cyberbullying and hate speech and, you know, people that are using the platform to discredit people or do hate or violence or, put this rhetoric and being racist and whatnot. Yet they allow these institutions to exist on social media platforms, which they capitalize off of hate, discrimination. They openly state that they want to kill specific groups of people. You don't think that's concerning? Oh, that's right, because they're part of the government. It's okay. It's okay. If you work for the establishment, it's okay. But if you're some rando that they construed as some sort of hate speech when really it's not, it's actually bringing people together, then that's when they want to go after you. Such hypocrisy. So Homeland Security says Mahmoud Kahili refuses to condemn Hamas because he is a terrorist sympathizer. Like, every time I read stuff like this, anytime someone uses the word terrorist sympathizer, I have to look around and figure out what time portal we entered into where it's 2002 again. Like, seriously, have we not just had enough of this crap where everyone's a terrorist sympathizer if you don't agree with the government? Everyone's a terrorist sympathizer. You're on our side or the other side. If you don't agree with us, then you must be a terrorist. Like, seriously, we've heard this for 20 straight years. 20 straight years. And they've extended the goalpost far beyond the means of the original content and context of their messaging. So it's just so insane to even keep using this. You keep using the argument of terrorist sympathizer. You know what I hate more than a terrorist sympathizer? The people that actually created the terror, which we'll get into later in this video. But moving on, it says not because DHS painted him as one, he branded himself as anti-Semite through his own hateful behavior and rhetoric. What? What? So, anyway, it's just ridiculous. It is a privilege to be granted a visa or green card to live and study in the United States of America. The Trump administration acted well within its statutory and constitutional authority to detain Kahili, as it does not with any alien who advocates for violence, glorifies, and supports terrorists, harassing Jews, and damages property. Again, they don't have police records to prove that. They don't have records to prove that. All they can detain him for is being in part of a protest and exercising free speech. And people still view this as okay that they're detaining a legal resident, not just a visa. He's a legal resident because he married an American in the country, which gives him the legal authority to have constitutional rights. So, yes, it's a violation of the Constitution, and they could do it to him, and they could do it to anyone else. They'll eventually do it to you. That's why this is such a big deal. Again, principles, people. That's what's so frustrating about society. No one has principles. No one has values. Everyone likes to cookie cutter everything to make themselves feel good, or they're feeling me. What happens to facts don't care about your feelings? What happened to, Ben Shapiro's model? Now he's Mr. Field Guy. So here's the CNN interview that went down. And of course they have on this woman. I think her name was Pamela Brown. That was what's said in the article. And Wolf Blitzer. Now, anyone that knows anything about Wolf Blitzer, not only is he a very much pro-war advocate, but he will go into an emotional breakdown. And I remember this vividly when discussing with Rand Paul. Remember that interview with Rand Paul when Rand Paul one of the very few people of Congress that discussed, hey, maybe we should stop killing each other. Wolf Blitzer went to a freak out and say, what about the jobs? What about the manufacturing of bombs? What about Lockheed Martin? What about the employees there? Like, we have to kill people because then they'll go out of work. What do you expect them to go on farm fields and pick berries? I mean, we have to manufacture bombs. That was Wolf Blitzer. He freaked out, not on the fact that we're spending and wasting billions on top of trillions of dollars, slaughtering half the world. He wasn't freaking out about that, but freaking out about the jobs, about the industry, about the economy. We have a death economy in North America. We like to slaughter for dollars. That's his mentality. So this obviously seemed like a big setup. And watch the confrontation between two very staunching pro-advocates of war that are never actually going to do real journalism, as, you know, we and so many other people in the podcast world or the alternative media have discovered and disclosed and brought to people. But watch what happens.
Just to be clear here, though, do you specifically condemn Hamas, a designated terrorist organization in the United States, not just for their actions on October 7th?
I condemn the killing of all civilians, full stop. But what I don't want to get into is no, I am very clear with condemning all civilians. I'm very straight in my position in that part. But it's disingenuous to ask about condemning Hamas while Palestinians are the ones being starved now by Israel. It's not condemning October 6th, where 260 Palestinians were killed by Israel on before October 7. So I hate this selective outrage of condemnation, because this is not.
I mean, in his defense, I'll say this, in his defense, to make this argument, Hamas kind of got thrown out of the picture the minute that Israel stormed into Lebanon and Syria and overthrew the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, and installed a member of al-Qaeda, who is now the president of Syria, that they're now shaking hands with, a terrorist. So that kind of just throws the whole Hamas perspective, you know, denouncing them. Do you condemn Hamas? Way out the window. That conversation is now gone. That conversation is long gone. We got to storm in because we got, you know, these terrorist ops. No. That conversation is long gone. The minute you installed a known member, an active member of al-Qaeda, as now the head of Syria, because you overthrew the democratically elected government, so you could take over a portion of the country, as well as destroy Lebanon and send missile strikes to Iran, that argument is now over. And he also just expressed that he condemns the violence of all factors. That's including Hamas. But what CNN and what Wolf Blitzer and this woman, I'm assuming her name is Pamela Brown, I'm not totally sure, all they want to hear is, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Like a catchphrase. Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Yeah, but do you condemn Hamas? So, this is supposedly the interview that everyone's freaking out about. Not freaking out about the starvation of children, not freaking out about the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, had his trial postponed. He was supposed to go into trial for treason, by the way. Yes, he's a wanted criminal in his own country, by the way. That's why so many Israelis were protesting prior to October 7th. Coincidence? Coincidence? Israelis were protesting their own government, and then all of a sudden, this terrorist event came about. Oh my God, now we can't prosecute Netanyahu because we're in war right now. Just like how they can't prosecute Zelensky. Well, we're in war right now, so we can't hold me accountable. I mean, it's war. What's it good for? Unbelievably hilarious. Unbelievably hilarious. Like, it's just the same playbook over and over and over and over again. And still people have not put this together, have not woken up to this. That when you use the word terrorist sympathizer, you just lost all credibility. You lost all credibility there. So that's apparently the interview that everyone's all up in arms about. But I just want to remind people, and like I said, I don't only condemn Hamas, but I also condemn the IDF. I condemn acts of violence towards each other, the manufactured acts of violence. But I also condemn the people that create terrorism, which is the conversation that nobody wants to have a real discussion about. Everyone talks about these groups, and everyone can name right off the tip of their tongue about all these horrific members, these gangs, these all around the world, but they never talk about who actually created them. Who actually created the monster that we're fighting. And here's to remind people of Hillary Clinton. This is back in 2010. This is well documented. This is well known. People can go look this for themselves and see all the proof in the pudding. That Hillary Clinton admitted that the United States government, that the United States, Israel, they are all complicit of manufacturing terrorism so that we have wars on terror. The whole reason we're in this mess is because of people like her. The whole reason we're in this mess. Because in order to have wars on terror, they have to first manufacture the monster. And here's what she openly stated in confession to Congress.
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia. And we went to work. And it was President Reagan, in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI.
Sounds like a pretty good idea. Sounds like a pretty good idea to grab disenfranchised people, give them weapons, give them cash, give them CIA training, and convert them from disenfranchised individuals into well-equipped terrorists. This is her discussing the creation of the Mujahideen, which later became Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Both of which, two terrorist organizations that never attacked Israel. Isn't that kind of funny? Isn't that kind of funny? You talk about Arabs, attacking the Jewish population. Two well-documented terrorist groups. Never, ever, once attacks Israel. Wonder why that is. Wonder why that is. No one ever wants to have that conversation.
In the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these Mujahideen, and let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what?
So, there you go. It clearly dismantles all the arguments made. Even when Tulsi Gabbard, who I once viewed as someone who's very anti-war influential, who went on to Joe Rogan, talked about the military-industrial complex. I learned a lot from her when she did a complete 180 talking about, jihadists and wasabi style, or what do they call it? Radical Muslims in these areas. She doesn't talk about this. She doesn't talk about how the CIA and intelligence communities did these operations to purposely capture these disenfranchised, disproportionate people, fill them up with anger, fill them up with rage, propagandize them, did MK Ultra experimentations on them, converting them into radical, violent extremists, turning them into their little puppets. Remember Osama bin Laden? Remember him? He was a CIA asset prior to 2001. Prior to 9/11, he was considered a CIA asset. CNN interviewed him as a location. And then all of a sudden, now he was this bad guy. He betrayed the U.S. post 9/11, and they spent 10 years trying to look for the guy, even though they interviewed him in his own house 2 years prior to 9/11. Was it 2 or 3 years? I think it was 1998. I don't know the exact date, but it was prior to 9/11. So this whole thing, this whole war on terror, this is why it's so, it's just insidious. This is diabolical because they're manufacturing terrorism. They're manufacturing these wars. People of all walks of life just want peace. They just want tranquility. They just want us to survive in this crazy world. You know, there was once upon a time where all civilizations got together and lived together in harmony until, hey, we can make profit if we get one country to fight another country and make up stories and conspiracies and make up, stereotypes about this group versus that group. And yeah, get these people to fight each other, kill each other. Let's give them some weapons and money and cash and secrets. That's because of them. That's because of these bloodthirsty, warmongering monsters, these psychopaths that sold themselves, they sold their soul to manufacture with the war machine. That ultimately what happened. Let's see the rest of it.
They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which is, wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow because we will harvest. So we then left Pakistan. We said, okay, fine, you deal with the stingers that we've left all over your country. You deal with the mines that are along the border. And by the way, we don't want to have anything to do with you. In fact, we're sanctioning you. So we stopped dealing with the Pakistani military.
So we took these people, we gave them weapons, we gave them cash, we sent them onto a mission, we gave them false promises that we're going to protect you, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, blah, blah, blah. Sent them on these death missions, collapsed the Soviet Union. That's apparently the argument of how great this was. But oh, by the way, we're going to sanction your country, make you worse off. Thank you for doing our dirty work, but we're going to make you worse off. And we're going to leave the missiles and weapons with you guys, hoping that you're not going to retaliate. I can't believe that this confessional has not made more mainstream attention than it needs to be. Like, if I had the power to get one of those electronic billboards anywhere around the world, I would blast this constantly, 24/7, to anybody. Anybody that talks about Ukraine, anyone that talks about Israel, anyone that talks about war in general. I would put this in full blast 24/7 on an endless loop to tell people that, hey, this angered aggression, how, you get all uptight about, oh, that Vladimir Putin or this guy or that guy. Yeah, it's because people like Hillary Clinton that you were told to trust, to pledge your vote towards, created this terrorist, created these wars. They manufactured the aggression towards countries so that we kill each other for profit. And whose profit? The military-industrial complex. People like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics, Palantir now. All these people are profiting off the death and disparity of humanity. Those are the people that are calculating and deliberately, diabolically making war happen. So, you want to condemn Hamas, condemn this. Condemn this psychopath. Condemn this evil witch. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm saying that she is diabolically evil for just openly stating that and not being convicted. Remember Trump was supposed to lock her up? What happened to that? What happened to that? Oh, that's right, because Daddy Trump is also now on war. So here is Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, the supposed investigate journalist that apparently can't do the investigation of why Hamas exists, why all this is happening. She jumped the bandwagon and said, deport this jihad. Deport this guy. Oh my God. He condemns everything, but he didn't say the magical words. Deport him! Deport him! Oh, I gotta be angry. I gotta be an empty vessel for the government. Be angry. Deport this guy. And I responded to her saying, maybe you, Libby Loomer, should stop supporting Hamas funder and chief organizer of Israel. Much like the U.S. supporting and building up the Mujahideen, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS, I can denounce terrorism and the manufacturing of it. Can you? So that's the difference. That's the difference. I don't pick and choose. I condemn the people that manufactured this aggression, that started this in the first place. And here's the article here, one of many articles that points this out. Look at this, how Israel helped prop up Hamas for decades. Here's from the Times of Israel, their own publication. For years, Netanyahu propped up Hamas. Now it's blown up in our faces. They purposely had this manufactured. They purposely used and exploited their own people. They killed their own people on October 7th. Why? Because they needed this act of terror. They needed October 7th as a gateway to further militarize their greater Israel project, to further take over Hamas, to demonize the entire population of Palestine, make this hellish escape for them, to take full occupying control of Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, all the surrounding area. And they don't care who they go after. They will go after their own people. That's why right now in Israel, they're beating up Jewish people. So much for the safe space for them, that they're beating up Jewish people that are against this and calling them not Jewish enough. Oh, you're a self-hating Jew because you don't stick with the government. The Zionist, psychopathic, psychotic, supremacist government. Because all they care about is their race. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? It should. Here's this guy, Ian Bremmer, pointing this out. It says, Netanyahu and Hamas have been codependent for a long time. Thomas Friedman tells me. His take, Bibi's always understood that a strong Hamas in Gaza equals a weak Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. So the whole creation, the whole reason Hamas even exists is Netanyahu and the Israeli government propped up this terrorist group. The Israeli governments have manufactured this terrorist group to undermine the Palestine Liberation Organization. That was a peaceful demonstration. That was a non-violent, non-profit organization to help liberate the Palestinians that were under occupation by Israelis. And they were trying to undermine that organization by bolstering this terrorist op. That was a complete cutout from Israel. And they built upon that. They gave money. They gave weapons for many, 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 many years. And they told, through directives, through military directives, like the Hannibal Directive, telling Hamas and telling this terrorist organization to act on October 7th. And the Israeli government knew that this was going to happen. They were well warned. They knew it was going to happen. They purposely undermined security at that music festival. And that's why people at the music festival, the day that where October 7th occurred, that's why the people at the music festival are suing the IDF. They're not suing Palestine. They're suing their own government. Because they know that they got betrayed. They know it's a setup. And they know that the hostages are not going to be released because the hostages are the leverage to keep this war going. And they have to keep this war going. One, for the greater Israeli project, and two, because Netanyahu will have to face trial and a possible jail sentence. Not just for the heinous regard of international law, but also the crime, the corruption, the scandals within his own country. He is a criminal, psychopathic, evil villain. This guy is not to be trusted with 1 ounce of your life. And that's why he's keeping this war going. That's why he's bringing down everybody into this psychotic insanity. And thanks to the Samson option, it's going to get worse. Because under their directives, according to their prophecy, if Israel goes down, the rest of the world goes down with it. And that does not sound promising. That does not sound like a true friend and ally that we need. That we're sacrificing our money to, that we're sending off our own soldiers, that people have died and devastated, and just we're attacking our own civilians and undermining their rights to protect this entity that is a gross, just diabolical measure of what they call an allyship. So because of Mahmoud Kahili and that CNN interview, now breaking, he's just detained by ICE again. After they found no evidence that they can criminally deport the guy. Now they want to detain him again because of that CNN interview. Because he didn't say the magic phrase. And according to this, Fox News reports his detainment is due to trying to undermine U.S. relations with Israel. Are you kidding me? A guy whose most heinous crime is partaking in action against the college where he sends his money to, is somehow undermining U.S. relations with Israel. Listen to this.
A Columbia student and anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Kahili met with D.C. lawmakers today on Capitol Hill. Well, now ISIS detained Kahili for trying to undermine U.S. relations with Israel. But ultimately, the Trump administration was unsuccessful in deporting him. He met with progressive Democrats, Summer Lee, who posted this: "Our institution should not fuel an authoritative regime by suppressing dissent, and we must continue fighting back." So he is in Washington, D.C., and we understand he was just on a network where he said he's meeting with lawmakers who supported him during his detention.
So after they tried to detain him and deport him, that turned out to be an unbelievable failure because they knew they had nothing on him. They didn't detain him again simply because he went on to CNN and did not say the magic phrase. I mean, could this be more of a joke to society, to America, to the land of the free and home of the brave? It's an insult. It's an insult to all of it. That, oh my God, you didn't say the magic phrase that everyone's looking for in the corporate hemisphere. He's getting detained again. Meanwhile, real violent criminals that are actually making havoc and causing disruption, causing chaos, still continue to flourish. So, do you really think all these ICE, crackdowns when they're marching down California in an empty park, do you really think that's helping the cause of cracking down on criminals when they go into Home Depots or dragging people out of Walmart or capturing down on people picking berries at farms? Do you really think it's helping the cause of cracking down on criminals, knowing that real heinous criminals, violent, extreme people are out on the streets causing mayhem, continuing to cause devastation in America? No. Of course not. Because the purpose of ICE of doing this is to further extend the police state, is further to extend the authoritarianism that's been long in lockstep for many years, many administrations, and it took Donald Trump to fully sell it to people. Because Donald Trump is a businessman. Donald Trump is able to sell things, believe it or not. He was able to sell himself on NBC on a crappy reality show for how many years? And now he's selling America the complete, utter betrayal of its society, of its, values and dignity, to turn itself into a furthering police state. And finally, to top this off, I just wanted to add this onto it. Max Blumenthal actually pointed this out. It was a Jewish reporter, by the way. So for anyone that wants to demonize that guy as some sort of terrorist op or whatever, just note that, but again, Zionists don't care. They go after anybody. Noam Dan, the niece of Ofer Calderon, said Israel used the Hannibal Directive on captives in Gaza to deny Hamas negotiating leverage. The mother of Ron Sherman, a captive killed by Israeli soldiers who gassed his tunnel, accused her government of murdering him like Auschwitz. So that is an Israeli hostage, not accusing Hamas or Palestine, but is actually accusing their own government. They're actually killing their own hostages. They're killing their own people to further advancing this outrageous war. And I can't even really call it a war because the people of Palestine don't have a proper defense to fight back. And the fact that they are starving children, the fact that they're getting people to line up in the hopes that humanitarian aid is coming and locking down and killing them in the lineup, the fact that they're killing people that are trying to send aid to civilians in Hamas, the fact that they kidnapped the people of the Freedom Flotilla, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I know people say, well, why does that matter to me? It's not like I'm in this war. You physically may not be in this war. Maybe so. We don't know. They might start drafting people at this point if it continues on. We don't know for sure. But your finances are involved. Your tax dollars fund this. And your institutions are locking down on your own people who question it. So does that make you a free society? Does that make you a free American or a free Canadian or free anywhere else in the world? That if you an active member of your population speaks out about how your tax dollars are siphoning away from your country to serve the needs of a foreign nation in their massive slaughter against other people, do you live in a free society when you are held captive, when you're sent to jail, or when you're being threatened deportation? Do you think you live in a free society? Do you think you live in the land of the free and home of the brave? When they purposely undermine constitutional rights? And for those who are making the argument that, oh, well, this guy technically not an American citizen, so he doesn't get constitutional rights. That's bull. That's bull. Constitutional rights are constitutional rights for everybody. Anyone that steps foot in America. That's what makes America, America. And if they can go after him, they'll go after anybody. And that is proven. That is proven. And now, thanks to the passing of the big, beautiful bill and the increase of ICE, the increase of the Pentagon budgets, they will definitely go after anybody, even their own citizens, for actively engaging in peaceful protests and calling out despicable, unbelievable, diabolical slaughter of innocent lives with their tax dollars.